This week I learned somehow I can still get excited about a YA book. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another weekly update headed towards the end of June here. And what a month it has been. What a week it has been. And that's what we're here to talk about today. So let's begin like usual, guys. Let's talk about what am I reading. I talked a little bit briefly about it last week. I did finish Red Sister, Book 1 and the Book of the Ancestor by Mark Lawrence. Had some really negative reception to saying I was pretty lukewarm on it. Well, you guys are going to be even more unhappy because didn't really like it. I didn't really like it to the point to where I said I don't think I'm going to continue with the series. And honestly, I don't think I'm going to continue with Mark Lawrence. I feel like I've given the guy 4 books and it just hasn't really clicked with me. Now look, I understand when a booktube you like to watch or a viewer you like to listen to, something like that, they don't feel the same way that you do about an author. It really bothers you. I know it can be obnoxious. You know, it hurts me a little bit. Like when I hear some of my peers like trash Dune or say I'm completely loony about the John Gwynne books or something. You know, it happens. It happens. It is kind of, it does bring it down a little bit. So I get it. One comment particularly said that like they can't take my opinion seriously anymore because I didn't like Mark Lawrence. I mean, that's unfortunate. It really is. But for me, it's just, I don't know. Everybody said they thought they would have liked this one because of how much I like characters. I never felt like the character relationships were that great in it. So it just never really clicked for me. I don't know what it is about Mark Lawrence. I think he's very talented. Do not misunderstand me, nor do I think that you are not smart or something because you love him. I think he's very, very talented. It's just sometimes, guys, an author just doesn't click with you that probably should. And you really just can't put a finger on why. It isn't anything about the content or anything like that that's bothering me. It's just one of those things I'm saying. I just never was thinking about any of these books I read by Mark Lawrence while I was away from them. So I'm thinking maybe it's just sometimes it just don't work. And like I said, I think 4 books is a very, very good shake with any author. And I never say never, but as of right now, I do not believe I'll be continuing with Book of the Ancestor. My reading partner on that one, Madison, she liked it a little bit more than me. She had a lot of the same gripes. I think she said that she probably will continue just later on. But I don't know. Maybe we should get together and talk about Red Sister here in the future. After that, guys, I did pick up the Expanse book that I was talking about reading, Symbol of Burn. I am rolling through it. I'd say about 60-ish% through that, just guessing there. It's really, really fast-paced, guys, and I'm liking it because I feel like it's automatically addition by subtraction by not having Anna and Bull be POV characters. Those 2 characters really just never did much. Actually, Anna was just so self-righteous. It really just drove me crazy after a while in book 3. With this one, I wasn't wild about Elvie at first, but she's kind of grown on me over the course of the book. And I feel like that's something that Daniel Abraham, Ty Frank are very good at. Introducing a character and making you think, I don't really know how I feel about them. And then over the course of time, them kind of proving themselves to you, because you do have this, this core group of characters that you feel like your ride or dies. And so every time that he introduces a new character, you're like, I don't know how I feel about this. But I do like Elvie. I think that she's an interesting character. I think Murtry's a really cool villain. I know that's a divisive character, apparently, in the fandom. On the read-along that we're doing on the Discord, there are some people who do not like Murtry, and there are some people who just can't stand Murtry. No way I would say likes him, but I think that he's the villain that I feel like this story needs. Does feel very, American westward expansion, because it was a lot of lawlessness when we were expanding to the west here in the States and in the founding of our country and stuff. There's a lot of those feelings. Just anytime you deal with establishing a new civilization, there's going to be lots of divide between the people, lots of power struggles, and I think it's dealing with all that. And I love anytime you're researching like ancient civilizations and stuff like that, like you're finding on islets. It's a lot of fun. So I'm enjoying it, guys. I'm excited that I'm going to be continuing with the Expanse here, especially since I hear book number 5 is a lot of people's favorite in the series. So looking forward to that one here in July. I am almost finished. With Lightbringer, guys. I've got about that much left, which is still a lot, but still chapter 66 is where I'm at right now, guys. This has been great. It's been great. I will never spoil you. Don't worry. You ain't got to worry about that. But very happy. Very, very happy. Like I said last week, I don't want to regurgitate everything I said last week in case you're a constant watcher. But I know that a lot of people think that, oh, well, you're reading it early, so you're just excited. You're always just going to like anything you read. There's been plenty of books that I've gotten early, and I've read them and been like, oh, no. That's happened quite frequently. But with this one, I feel like it never, ever feels like a story. Because a big question I've gotten is, does it feel like a book that's been cut in half? No, I've never felt that at all. It definitely feels like its own story. And I like where it's going, and I'm very scared about what's going to happen here in this last 20% or so. Because, well, you know what Pierce does to his characters. Just put it that way. So I don't feel like it's as dark or messed up as Dark Age was. It's nothing I'd call bright, shiny, and happy. But I do think that Red Rising fans are going to love it. So again, I feel like if the sequels haven't clicked for you yet, I don't think Lightbringer's going to read the book that pulls you around to the sequels. But if you're like me and you've been on board with the sequels, you're going to be happier than a pig in shit. And I don't know another way to put that. You're going to be very, very happy with it. And we shall leave it at that. I will be doing a review for it on release day. I'll have that to release on release day. I know I didn't get like a real embargo date or anything where I could talk about it, but I like to do those on release day. To me, it's not about being first. I know that a lot of people want to be excited on release day, and so I'll be doing it on release day. And I hope you guys will be picking it up and reading it, because I think you're going to have a lot of fun with it if you do. After that, guys, we move to what am I going to read? Now, it's obviously I'm going to be finishing Lightbringer and The Expanse this week, and we are starting Gone with the Wind on July the 1st. And I said, okay, well, it looks like I'm going to have a couple of days between this and Gone with the Wind. Now, Lightbringer, massive book. I did Of Darkness and Light and Lonesome Dove last month. Those were massive, massive books. Expanse isn't exactly short. It's almost 600 pages. Reads a little faster than those. I read the Ryan Cahill book. It was a very, very big book. So it's like maybe I should have something light and snappy maybe before I start into Gone with the Wind, one of the longest books ever written. So I said, what can I do in that time period? Because I thought, okay, maybe I'll just go ahead and do Dragon Keeper, because that was my original plan. Another 500-page fantasy book. I said, I need something quick. Maybe I can dip into that old YA video I did. YA books or series that I'm interested in giving a try. And the one that I kept coming back around to, guys, is this one. Scythe by Neil Shusterman is book number 1, The Arc of a Scythe. Book I've heard a lot of good things about. I think Neil Shusterman's always been sold to me as he does YA right. That's the way it's kind of put, in that, yes, it is approachable for junior high school reading level, but it's not insulting to older readers as well. So I think I would go into it expecting a lot of those things. But the fact that people are telling me it doesn't have, quote, those things you hate, makes me think, okay, there's no love triangle. There's no insta-love. There's no, girl boss, Gary Sue, Scary Stews, any of that stuff. So I'm hoping that's what it is. Just from the synopsis, it sounds kind of like The Giver, and I like The Giver a lot. So it'll be interesting to see, basically a civilization where we've learned how to beat death. Everyone's immortal now. We've stopped aging. We can reverse aging and things like that, but that gives us a population problem. So we still have to kind of curb the population once in a while. And these 2 apprentices are chosen to be what is known as a scythe, is people who go and, let's just say they thin the herd a little bit, and it's up to them to decide who lives and who dies, basically to kind of control the population. So interesting concept. I'll be interested to see where it goes. Haven't heard most of the criticism I've heard is after this book. Pretty much this book, number 1, unanimous praise. It really has had a lot of praise, and I've been told you can read it in like a couple sittings. So I figured that will be perfect in between Expanse and Lightbringer, and then Gone with the Wind on the 1st. So I think, nice little snappy, quick little read. Sounds like a great idea. But that's what I have got planned for what I'm going to read. How about this week on the channel, guys? Was kind of a lighter week because I had to catch up on some things. I did my Dark Age review, sticking with the Red Rising theme. Dark Age is the last part of that reread, and obviously the last of the available books to everybody right now. So I'm glad that I actually finished doing that, because I know I've had many series I've started before and said I was going to do reviews for all of them. I didn't. Obviously, when it comes to reviewing sequels, each one that you do gets less interest because not everybody has read all the series. But I love the Red Rising saga so much, guys. So I want to talk about every single book, and I also want to have a spoiler talk about each and every book. And I cannot thank HowlerPod, Ben, and Aaron enough for joining me for all 5 of those. It was a blast for me. because it was kind of full circle. I first discovered their podcast when I read Dark Age for the first time, because I didn't know anyone that was reading the sequels. I had no one to talk to about it. And listening to their range of emotions reading Dark Age was a lot of fun for me. So to have them on my channel here 4 years later and talk to them about all 5 of the currently released books. And we do plan to get together after they get book 6 and read it and have time to decompress a little bit. We do plan to get together for another spoiler talk of that. But it was a lot of fun for me to go on that journey with them and revisit all 5 of these books and talk about them. 2 of the kindest people, and Ben is like an encyclopedia when it comes to Red Rising, and Aaron has some of the best nicknames. Follow them on Instagram if you haven't. However, they are spoilery, but I'm going to say if you are current on the series, follow them on Instagram, because Aaron posts some of the funniest Red Rising memes that you will find, and that's a lot of fun. It's a series I feel like needs some memes because of how dark the content can get at times. But it's been a lot of fun for me to revisit that. Thank you to all of you who joined me on the reread or first time read. I'm glad that more people are getting interested in the series, and your patience and your interest will be rewarded, guys, because Lightbringer, it really cooks. Let's put it that way. And what else, guys? I did a Father's Day video, annual Father's Day video. I've been trying to do something different each year. Last year, I did my favorite dads in sci-fi and fantasy. This year, I want to kind of do something a little more personal, and it was just something, a lot of feedback that I've gotten about reading to my kids. And I just kind of want to say why I think it's important that you should read to your kids. So it was a very, very personal video. I know that a lot of people who don't have kids aren't interested in a video like that, clearly. The people who do, I feel like I've gotten a lot of great feedback. I've gotten a lot of great stories about people remembering, dads that are no longer with us, remembering stuff that their dads did for them in their childhood and how they're trying to pass those things down. And that's great. That's the kind of stuff that I love to hear about. So I'm definitely not alone in feeling like reading to your kids is a great thing. And I'm glad, because it really is something great for them. In a world where it feels like we're content as parents to kind of let tablets and video games kind of raise them. Like I said, it goes like that, guys. It's really quick, and you're going to appreciate, and they're going to appreciate that extra special time if you make it a point to read to them. Maybe if not nightly, but many nights a week, read to them a little bit. And you guys can share on an adventure together. And I talked about a couple of series in there that I think that I would recommend. We're doing Percy Jackson right now. He's really, really loving that. But I think it just kind of depends on where your kid is at. But it's something that you can never start too soon, guys. So make sure that you're doing it, because one day soon, probably, my oldest is going to tell me, Dad, I don't need you to do this anymore. It's going to break my heart. But it's I feel like I've helped him get to that part of his life, and that's kind of the goal in the end. So if you guys read your kids, I would love to know some of those stories. It was a lot of fun. And then not on my channel, guys, and not even on a channel. It was a podcast. I always like to give special love to the podcasters, because I came up as a podcaster. I did podcasting for a decade before I did this. But I was a guest on Ryan's podcast. He does a podcast called the Jurassic Park Cast, which is obviously Jurassic Park themed. But he talks about many, many other things. But he did have me on to talk about Jurassic Park and to talk about Michael Crichton in general. We talked about some other things too. We talked about Dune. He went through my top 10 books of all time list that I just did and talked about each one of those. Talked some Stephen King. But it's a great time anytime I get together with a podcaster. And just, I don't got to worry about video and lighting and things like that. It's great. It's really a lot of great. And I always say I like to be a guest on other channels because I don't have to edit anything. But very, very fun conversation. I could talk about Mr. Crichton and his ideas for a long time. And we did it for a good hour there. So I'll drop that one in the description below if you want to kind of find a link and do that. And I'm going to thank Ryan for asking me to be on. It was a great, great time. And I really do appreciate the invite. Some next week plans, guys. I got a couple things I've got cooking up here. I'm going to be having James Islington on the channel in July. So I figure it is the time to do my review for The Will of the Many, a book that seems to be unanimously loved and adored. And I thought it was pretty good. And we're going to talk about what I liked and what I didn't like, and why it may or may not work for you. It's going to be spoiler-free like I always do, but maybe at the very, very end I'll break format a little bit, and I'll talk spoilers for like 2 or 3 minutes about some of the things that really bothered me, and we'll talk about why. But I'm very much looking forward to talking to James. I love the Lycanus trilogy, so I can't wait to hear his thought process behind that, and what is to come in the Hierarchy series that he is currently working on. So look forward to that. Probably early Monday or Tuesday on that one for The Will of the Many. Actually, no, it'll probably be Monday or Wednesday, because Tuesday I'm going to be having another author interview. I'm going to be speaking with Mike Shackle, the author of the Last War trilogy. You guys don't know, We Are the Dead, Fool's Hope, Until the Last have been three of my favorite reads this year. So I definitely wanted to take an opportunity to speak to Mike about his thought process behind that series, what his future plans are, why he can no longer write as himself anymore, all these things. I'm hoping I can get a little bit of a peek behind the publishing curtain like I did when I talked to Ryan Cahill recently, because I think that Mike will, I think he'll be very, very forward, and I look forward to listening to that, because if you've read his books, guys, you know he has no problems hurting feelings, so he'll get out there. But I'm very excited to talk to him. Quite a great guy. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I always love talking to authors, and especially ones that talk to me while I'm reading their books, and they're cool with me like dropping their DMs and asking them questions and telling them thoughts and stuff like that. I think that that's just such a nice touch that you can do with your readers, is to really just communicate with them. And that's a weakness of mine. When you mingle with the peasants, man, it is a weakness of mine. And then, guys, we're coming up on July, so I figured I better get my schedule out there. My July 2023 TBR. I'll be doing that one next week. It's going to be an interesting month because it is quite the variety, because I am going on a vacation at the end of the month. So there are several things I want to get done beforehand. So I've already told you about Gone with the Wind, but there are several other, and I want to say several, because Gone with the Wind's a big old boy. But there are a few other books that I plan to read in July. We're going to talk about them then. And that's really all I got. I was thinking about doing like a horror video. It really was just because I've been thinking, I want to try to make sure starting next year that I start injecting more horror books onto the channel, not just in October. And it's not for any reason outside of just, I want to read more horror. I feel like I've started to get to the point where all I do is Stephen King during the year, and then I shove 4 or 5 new horror authors into October just because of the theme for spooky season. And I still want to do that. I still want to make spooky season special. But I want to make sure, hey, like Adam Neville is an author I've become really, really interested in reading. Why do I got to wait until October to read him? I want to read more Joe Hill. There's lots of things. Forget the author's full name, Malfi. That's one that Rachel from Shades of Orange really recommended to me. So there's lots of horror authors out there I want to try, and I feel like I've just been kind of brushing those aside. So I don't know if I'll necessarily make a video for that as much as just it's a thought that I've been having. So maybe that's more like a short or something. I don't know. I'm kind of cooking on that one. But that's what I should do for next week. But that's all I got for books, guys. We've got a couple of TV and movie talk things. It's like everyone knows I'm a big DC Comics fan. So they feel like every time a new Warner Brothers DC movie comes out, they got to come and like give me a hard time about it. Guys, I trash Warner Brothers more than you ever have. Trust me. I think it's horrible misuse. It's gross negligence how they handle some of their IPs. Harry Potter and now DC Comics being the biggest ones. I think it's complete malpractice what they've done to the DC universe, because these are characters that have been around for 100 years. And they're just legendary. And I feel like they just treat them so poorly. As for The Flash, I didn't see it. That's the thing. No one else did either. It did not make very much money. It's lined up to be one of the biggest bombs in the DCEU. And the thing is I've heard it's pretty good. Most people have said it's pretty good. It's nothing amazing, but it's pretty good. And the fact that it's not making any money is just because people have checked out. They don't care. They don't trust what they've done to the brand at this point. And that's where I think James Gunn messed up. I love James Gunn, but he messed up not saying, this is going to be a complete reset. Flash is going to end with Flashpoint, and we're going to completely reset the universe. We're going to start completely over. I think that's definitely what they should have done. And I still think it's not too late. It's not too late. Look at this and say, we need to do something different. We need to do something fresh and clean, because as long as you're connected to a lot of these other things, no one's going to give it a chance. You're never going to get that trust back. So I feel like they need to start clean. I just don't feel like they're going to do it. Don't feel like they're going to do it, and I'm just going to be a disgruntled DC Comics fan forever when it comes to DC on film. The Indiana Jones reviews, whew, man, they are rough. I think this might be one of the first times in a while that audiences and critics are going to agree on something, because people I trust that have seen it, it isn't just angry Gen Xers. I know that people think that, anybody who grew up with it, of course they were already going to hate it. Man, we would love for there to be another great. It's like we did with Star Wars. We would have loved to have more great Star Wars. We don't root for these things to fail. At least I don't. I know there are certain channels out there who are going to hate something regardless. For me, it was like, no, I'd love to see Harrison Ford go out on top. I would love to have seen that. I never thought this had a chance. Never thought it had a chance. And it's just because I don't trust Lucasfilm leadership, man. What's changed? What's changed since the Star Wars sequel trilogy to make me think that anything is going to be different with anything else that they touch? It's just, I don't even watch them anymore, guys. This is the thing. I stopped hate watching this stuff 4 or 5 years ago. After they started just like trashing the fan bases, I was just like, I'm not giving my money to people who just have disdain for me anymore. So I don't think I'll be watching it. I don't even consider Kingdom of the Crystal Skull canon because I think The Last Crusade was a perfect ending. It had Indy and his friends and his dad riding off into the sunset. That was the perfect ending. Perfect. So to me, it's like, I get why you want to do it from a business standpoint. You want that brand recognition and you want to, capitalize on it. That's why you paid all that money for that IP. Sometimes it's better to just let things lie or just reboot them. I feel like, yes, it's sacrilege to reboot Indiana Jones or Star Wars or Back to the Future or something like that. But if that's what you need to do, instead of bringing back the actor or actors in their 80s who are very clearly there for a paycheck, I don't know if that's the best idea anymore. So I don't know. I mean, I remember like 5 years ago, they were talking about rebooting Indiana Jones with Bradley Cooper. And I was like, that would be fun. I think that could be fun if they did it right, if it was in the right hands. This is not in the right hands. Definitely not in the right hands. So I didn't think it had a chance whatsoever. But that's really all I got for TV movie talk. Gaming talk, guys, the only thing I got is Final Fantasy 16 was released. I had that live stream with HowlerPod last night, so I was unable really to do anything more than just, download it to my console. I haven't actually had a chance to play it yet. That's the plan tonight. Pretty much from, I think from like about 3 till midnight tonight, I plan to dip into Final Fantasy 16. I did play the demo, did finish it. Lots I liked, some things I didn't care for. My problem with Final Fantasy, guys, is look, I'll be honest with you, Final Fantasy has been a struggle for me the last 2 decades. The last one that I loved was 9. We're on 16. So that tells you how long it's been since I really loved a Final Fantasy game. I think that there's been some things they've done good. There's been a lot of things they've done bad. I feel like they really fell into that trap of flash over substance. Let's make these awesome, beautiful graphics and CGI scenes, but then make the story forgettable, make the characters kind of unlikable. And that's just not, for me, Final Fantasy was always about characters that you wanted to follow and a storyline that really sucks you in. And I feel like they've done that in a long time. I know a lot of people like 14. I was off the bus by then. I was off the bus with 14. 15, I had pre-ordered. I watched the state of play on it, and I canceled my pre-order. It said no interest in the boy band version of Final Fantasy 15. This looks a little bit more my style. It does have very much an epic kind of storyline. Very much, I think the fantasy readers are going to like. I'm really liking how it's mixing a lot of those adult themes in a adult fantasy storytelling standpoint, and a lot of those things that you're familiar with Final Fantasy. Like you're still seeing, Ifrit and Shiva and Titan and things like that, and you're also seeing like chocobos. But it's got a very, very Song of Ice and Fire style writing, and I'm here for that. I think that's great. It is weird hearing Final Fantasy characters cuss and so much violence because it is the first Final Fantasy game with a mature rating. And that isn't the only reason I think I'm interested in. I think that I felt like the story was good enough in that demo for me to say, okay, I'm going to keep my pre-order and I'm going to give this a real legit shot, because it would be tempting to be like, they haven't had a good Final Fantasy game for me in a long time, and cross my arms. Like, guys, I've been playing since the original on Nintendo, so I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the franchise, and I would love to love this series again. So I'm really, really hopeful for Final Fantasy 16. I love the idea of playing as Clive through three different times of his life. Like there's a teenager in his 20s and then his 30s. So you got 3 different time spans of his life in this. I think they can make for a really good story. Not really crazy about it just being Devil May Cry with the word Final Fantasy on it, though. That's a little concerning. It seems like a lot of button mashing, but I do think that maybe the full game will have a little bit more to the fighting system than the demo did. But guys, that was my week. What are you up to? What is your week looking like? What have you read? What are you playing? What are you reading? What do you listen to? I'd love to hear about all of these things that you guys are doing, and I hope you guys have just an awesome weekend. If you got Final Fantasy 16, man, buckle up and let me know what you're thinking about it. I'm excited to hear it. I am always excited to hear it. So drop in the comments, let me know what you guys are up to, and I will talk to you there.